Greetings in the name of His Imperial Majesty. Ace got talk. Oh, what some boy I feel like. Welcome to the Love Zone. Ace got talk. Me are the Emperor, and every Emperor needs an Empress. Joining me tonight on the Love Zone is a goddess, and she goes by the name of Laleen.
Hi everyone, welcome to the Love Zone.
Empress, I want to firstly say thank you so much for joining me tonight, and you look absolutely incredible.
Thank you very much.
How you feeling?
I'm feeling good.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed the show last week, so I'm really happy to be back here again today.
Well, the listeners and the viewers, they really enjoyed hearing you and your thoughts and your opinions on the languages of love, so to speak. I mean, one of the comments that I got during the week is that your approach was very considered. Not to mention the fact that so many of our viewers loved your sexy voice.
Thank you.
including me.
Including you.
But
Okay,
but so many of the comments came in, you've got that voice, that very, very soothing voice. So thanks for joining us back. And guys, the listeners at home, you know, the show is nothing without you. Welcome back. Thanks for joining us again. As usual, put your thoughts and your comments in the description below, and we will endeavor to read out as many of your comments as well as interact and engage with you guys as we go along tonight's show. Tonight we've got an amazingly packed show of tonight. I'm not even sure if we're going to be able to get through it all because my inbox has been inundated with Ask Ace. Ace got talk. You know, Ace has become a bit of an agony auntie. You know what I mean? And as I've said to you guys, if you've got any relationship dilemmas, just drop me an email. Title it Ask Ace, and I'll do my best. Well, in fact, I will answer every single one of your emails. So the emails have been coming in thick and fast. And later on tonight's show, we will be reading out a few of your Ask Aces, and it's gonna get a little bit messy. So guys, if you've got any relationship dilemmas, if you're in a relationship and you've got a problem and you want to ask Agony Uncle Ace, drop me an email. That's info@realtalkradio.co.uk. The website address will appear shortly across the bottom of the screen. But back to tonight's show. So Laleen,
yeah.
Just a quick summary for our listeners. We started off the show by talking about the 6 languages of love, as you're well aware of. I decided that there was something missing because although I really respect and appreciate the 6 languages of love, I believe that there's one element that we haven't really discussed, which was sex. So we discussed on a few previous shows, sex as a language of love. And I knew that would open up a can of worms, which it did do. And a lot of our listeners came back and they said that sex is different from making love. And I agree. There's a big difference between the act of penetration and making love with somebody. We then split that down further to see what it really looked like. And we touched last week's show about intimacy. So we've now got sex, we've got making love, and then you've got being intimate with somebody. And like I said, the comments and the emails have just come flooding in with men and women giving their thoughts and feedback on what sex looks like to them in a relationship, what making love looks like to them in a relationship, and what intimacy looks like in a relationship. And the interesting thing that I've found in this very short space of time is, and I'm going to put this out there to the listeners, because Ace got talk. When you do these things, you start to see common denominators, as I like to put it. And in this very short space of time, what I have realized is that in relationships, we all use the same words, but those words have completely different meanings to the individual. It's got talk. I'll say it again. What I have found since I started the Love Zone relationship talk show is that we use the same words in relationships, but those words have completely different meanings to the individual, i.e., sex means completely different things in terms of some people sex it's intimate, it's a connection, it's a work. And other people it's just a lustful act. But we use the same word, but it means different things. Love, wow, we covered that already. But love, everyone's got their own interpretation of what love means to them. And as we discovered last week, intimacy is a lot deeper than what we might have first anticipated. So picking up where we left on last week, we're going to read out, shout out to Rachel. My mate Rachel, she sent me a voice note based on last week's show, and she sent me some very interesting questions, thought-provoking questions that was provoked by last week's show. And what we're going to do tonight is we're going to start this week's show by reading out those questions, and we're going to look to address them. Lileen, the beautiful royal empress, is not only a TV and radio presenter, singer, songwriter, but she's also a qualified professional counselor. So it's got talk on the Love Zone. I've got now in place a resident counselor. I just want to put a disclaimer out there on tonight's show that the advice that we give out on tonight's show is we're not giving out counseling advice. We're just having a conversation, and we're going to discuss, and we're going to give our own personal thoughts and views on particular issues. But for any of you that are in trauma or you're suffering from pain and you need to speak to a professional, it's got talk. We have professionals on standby, professional counselors that are ready to take your call. So if you are suffering from any trauma as a result of a relationship, or trauma as a result of a loss of a child, or if you're grieving, whatever the trauma you might be suffering, you might be stressed, you might be depressed, you might feel suicidal. If you want to speak to a professional, get in touch with us. That's www.realtalkradio.co.uk. You can drop us an email, info@realtalkradio.co.uk. Just put in the title help, and we'll get a counselor on the phone to you within 24 hours. But tonight, Levine, over to you.
Yeah, one of Rachel's questions, which I liked her question, because she's asking after our comments last week, what if you've never really experienced self-love? Does that mean you have nothing to bring to the table emotionally, and that you shouldn't be in a relationship? So that's thought-provoking. You've got nothing, you haven't ever had self-love before. But we have to maybe strip down what self-love is. In its most basic form, it's self-care. Yeah. So if you are caring for yourself, then you are not going to allow someone to do harmful things to you, because you care for yourself. So you won't allow yourself to be vulnerable. That's just the basic. And if you are not caring for yourself, what are you actually bringing to the relationship? But there are relationships that are codependent. So someone doesn't show them self-care, they are devoid of emotion in relationships, and they're with somebody who enables that. Where that becomes an issue, because it's fine if you're both happy to go along with that codependency relationship. A lot of people do. But where you have a problem with that is when somebody changes. Somebody maybe grows a little bit, or somebody decides they actually do want to be treated differently. They do want to be respected. They do actually want to express emotion or something like that. That changes the dynamic of the relationship, and then issues ensue. So to answer Rachel's question, if you have never known self-love, can you bring someone, should you not be in a relationship? I wouldn't say that, because there will be relationships for you, because there'll be somebody who wants to enable that. And if that works for the two of you, then you could have a successful relationship. What do you think about that?
Interesting. I think.
What is your idea then of self-care or self-love?
Well, I would just like to paraphrase what you said, because I love the way you broke it down from self-love and you split it right down to caring for self. And I would agree with you 100%. I would also, in answer to Rachel's question, if you've never experienced self-love, should you be in a relationship? Based on what you said, yes, because there's somebody for everybody. But I think it all goes back to self-awareness.
Yes.
And it all starts with self-awareness. The only way out is in, you know? And I didn't want to go too much into last week's show, but when we talked about love last week, love was actually split into being in love with somebody or love somebody and love for self.
Yes.
And if I'm correct, we concluded that in order to give love to somebody else, first you must be able to love self.
Yeah.
And I think you broke that down today into a micro, that the microcosm, when you said that looks like, what does that look like? It looks like self-care. So
in the basic form.
In the basic form.
The basic form, the first form.
Yeah.
That self-love has to be that you care. You're caring for yourself. So you are careful of how you are treated. You're aware of your needs. Because if we make our needs invisible, then if we ignore our needs and our wants, then we can't really blame our partner for ignoring them too. So if you want them to be seen, you have to be aware of them and address them. Otherwise, you can't blame someone for them being invisible because you're ignoring them. Should we expect then our partners to, we're ignoring what our wants and needs are, should we expect our partners to recognize it and do that for us?
Well, it's funny you said that, because I was just sitting here thinking that, back to Rachel's question again, what if you've never experienced self-love? Now, it's hard to give something you've never experienced. But if you've never experienced self-love, but you're aware that you've never experienced self-love, by being self-aware and starting to apply that love and that care upon self, will start the process of the journey of loving yourself, so to speak. And I'm putting that out there for somebody who might be watching this show, who might not have never experienced love. It's got talk. A few people commented in the week on, the eagle and chicken analogy. That's my signature piece. I'll always be remembered for that. But it's got talk. I won the World Motivational Speaker competition. It's got talk. I'm the Golden Mike champ, and I talk about. I tell a story of a farmer that placed an eagle's egg in a nest with chicken eggs. So although this eagle was an eagle, he hatched amongst chickens, and because he was around a circle of chickens, and it's an analogy, but he didn't experience the things we're referring to. He had no one to validate his self-worth. He had no one to validate who he was. So for those of us that might be watching this show that has experienced similar things, what I said in that signature piece is that when there's no one around to validate your self-worth, you have to look in the mirror and you have to ask yourself, who am I? And you have to put a value on yourself. It's got talk. I'm writing a book. In fact, one of the chapters in my book, I talk about the fact that nobody can put a value on you. Nobody. No one can put a price on you. Only you can put a price on your self-worth and your value. And then once you set that value, it's for everybody else to then.
Absolutely.
Do you understand where I'm coming from?
Yes, because that's what I was saying. Once you recognize and you say your needs, if you don't say your needs, if you're ignoring your needs, then it's understandable why your partner would. And exactly what you're saying, that's why I mentioned the codependency.
Yeah.
When you start to grow, and start to become aware, and you start giving yourself self-love and self-care, your relationship changes. That codependency
100%.
changes, and that's
100%.
what can cause the sometimes problems. Then, if that
Definitely.
person who's enabling you is not happy about those changes.
What you've touched on is a whole nother show. No, it is, because I know what's going on there, and it's true, because you have relationships. There's so many reasons why people grow apart, and we are going to touch on some of those over the next few weeks. And you're right. One of them is that people start to grow.
Yes.
And as they grow, and it might be just spiritually, they start to grow. They start to outgrow their partner spiritually.
Or they start to outgrow they outgrow that swapping. So whereas they weren't emotionally connected to themselves and things like that, and then they start to get that way.
100%.
You've stopped that person's job, that enabler. That job has stopped there, so it causes them some sort of friction.
Stop right there. Say that again. Now, because this is powerful stuff, because I've experienced this myself first.
Tell me. What did you experience?
I can't talk. I experienced this firsthand. No, but what you just said, there's a powerful stuff that you could be in a relationship, and it is a codependent relationship.
Yes.
And one person starts growing.
Yeah.
It may be spiritually, and they no longer need.
That's right.
That other person to get that.
They don't need that enabling from them. So you put that person out of their role then.
Yeah.
And so therefore they're uncomfortable in that relationship because they are no longer needed in that respect. So tell me about
that. I was going to ask. Sorry, I don't, no, sorry, sis, because I don't want to be all the question guy. But I was going to say to you, how do you counteract that when one person starts growing in a different direction?
This is what I said to you. It's if somebody has behaved, when you've got the codependency, if somebody changes in that causes the issue because there's a different dynamic.
Yeah.
If the enabler is not prepared or not happy about that, it may not survive.
Yeah.
Because that is their role. Unless they're willing to change and to grow as well, then it can work.
Yeah.
But if they're not, if that is their role and that's what they're comfortable doing, they may go and find somebody else where they can be that role for that person because it's what their need is.
Deep. Powerful. You was going to ask me a question.
Because you said it happened firsthand. I just wanted to know if you wanted to share that experience. Not in detail, but
I think I put this out on my show. Well, I think it was one of the shows we did I said that people change, people grow. Every 10 years we grow. We're actually changing on a microscopic level every single day. We're incarnating into new versions of ourselves, especially if you're into self-development and personal development and you're constantly growing your being. There are some individuals out there that from them left school, them not change. You understand what I'm saying? And they will be like that when they're 20, they'll be like that when they're 50, they'll be like that when they're 100. But for us that are constantly evolving as beings and constantly working on our self-development, it's quite easy if you're not with a compatible partner to quickly outgrow your partner. One person can outgrow the other. And I can just reflect on a few previous relationships where I've even walked away from girls that I've been madly in love with just because, example, they wasn't as ambitious as me. And I'm just so ambitious that I need someone that wants to drive on the set. Do you understand where I'm coming from? Yeah. So hence why I asked the question, how do you counteract that? But for me, it's about two people wanting to grow together.
Yes.
Whether that be you're both ambitious and career driven, or whether you're both spiritual and you want to grow spiritually together. It goes back to what we discussed last week about intimacy. And without railroading too off track tonight, because I know we've got a lot to get through, but I was sitting there doing a lot of contemplation on what we'd covered in terms of sex, love, and an intimacy. And I would say I want you guys at home to give me your feedback on this one, thoughts and comments below. But you tell me what you think. But I've seen a lot of relationships, marriages, 10, 15-year marriages, mash up. People married 20 years, mash up. 20, 30 years, mash up. I've seen a lot of relationships break down.
Mm.
And one of the things I advocate is that all relationships, before you get married, all people that are in a relationship should get relationship counseling prior to getting married. That's what I advocate. Yeah, and I've been saying that. Just like you got to go to the, what do they call it, to get the license, the town hall, innit? Registry office. You have to go register to get a license to get married.
Yeah.
I believe that in order to get that license, you should have had at least 10 sessions with a counselor. That's what I put out there, and I've been saying that forever. So, not only that, but the reason why we touch on these things is because I think it's fair to say, and I've been observing this pattern of behavior for a long period of time, that people you meet each other. Tell me if I'm wrong, but people meet each other, they fancy each other. There's all that attraction and the sparks and the fireworks at the beginning and the butterflies and the romantic gestures and can't wait to rip each other's clothes off. And there's the passion, that good stuff. But once you kind of settle down into a routine, everything just becomes routine. And especially if you have kids, get married, got 9 to 5s, got jobs, got to get up, get do the school run, drop the kids to school, that usual routine, come home from school, pick up the kids, fix their dinner, husband comes home from work, something's got to be ready for him, right, got to get the kids ready for bed. That routine, right, off to sleep, get up, do it all over again. I would say, and this is just an observation that I've been observing, that people get into relationships and then they get into the routine, but they forget about that intimacy.
Absolutely.
As a couple.
Absolutely.
That you still have to maintain in order to keep the fire burning and that relationship alive.
Yes, because they don't discuss prior. It's all, some people say there's a temporary insanity when people fall in love. That all kind of common sense goes out of the window. Again, we're talking about awareness and mindfulness. Yeah, because if we think about it, we should try to understand, as I said last week, understand that other person. There is nothing wrong with connecting with somebody, understanding who they are, talking about who they are, having a proper discussion about how you feel about everything, really. It could be your politics, what you like to do. I mean, we kind of dance over all those things. And I think we discussed it last, you just smile and laugh at things that might not even be funny just because, you're in love. But without actually knowing who that person is, how are you actually, and what are you actually in love with? So I think that we should spend time getting to know actually who that person is. It's like the good, the bad, and the ugly. We should know that about that person to see if it's something that could be durable and long-lasting, rather than just saying, oh, well, I like him and, it makes me feel good. Because if you want something with longevity, you have to put in the work. And why should we be afraid to connect with somebody? It's easier, I would say, for people to meet somebody, take their clothes off and go to bed with them.
Yeah.
Rather than sit down and talk and find out who they are and reveal who they are. There's something about that people are either shy or inhibited, that they don't want to actually show their true selves or find out who that person is truly. I'm wondering, is it because if they don't really like who that person is, it's not going to happen? If they find out more about that person, they may be dissuaded about wanting to be in a relationship with them.
I would argue, and I'm going to put it out there, that it's education. I don't know, I can't talk about the whole world, but in this Western society where I've grown up, it's very much a sex culture. It's a very lusty culture. I don't see in the UK, I mean, I've watched over the last 20 years, marriage and relationships are becoming less and less common, even though people are still getting married. I'm saying the typical family structure in the UK is not based around a man and a woman being married and raising 2.4 children.
Yes.
That picture's still painted, but the reality on the ground is completely different.
Yes. I mean, I overheard some young people talking, and this young lady was saying to a guy that I'm not, and quite proudly saying, I'm not the type of girl who, just because I've slept with a guy a few times, think that we're in a relationship. So what she's actually saying is, just because I sleep with you or you sleep with me a few times, I'm not going to think that we're an item. So and these are young people. So casual sex is just the norm. It's not about knowing who you are, knowing who they are. It's just to have sex. I'm not saying it's a bad thing or a good thing, but what happens is emotions do get involved. And because there's been no talk about that, it causes issues. It causes problems. Because even though sometimes people think, yeah, I'm just going to sleep with him for a few times and then I'm going to move on, inevitably, feelings and emotions become involved.
100%. I mean, I'd agree with everything you said, and I think I would argue that's what we've ring fenced when we talked about the sex, the love, and the intimacy, because those three things, even though they could appear as one, they all mean different things at different times to different people. Analogy, hypothetically, me and you could have sex. To you, it might have been just sex. Like that girl you previously mentioned. To me, I might have been making love to you. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yes, that's why the conversation needs to be there first of all.
Yeah.
What are we engaging ourselves in?
Yeah.
What is it you actually want?
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you want to have a relationship, or are you just looking for sex? If you don't have that conversation, yes, one person will be having sex, one person will be making love. So that's what I'm saying. The conversation before you actually get into bed should happen. What is it actually we both want here? So we're both on the same page. But that doesn't often happen, because you might have a woman who just wants to have sex, or a man that just wants to have sex, and he'll tell anything to get to what he wants to get. So it's about drilling down.
I'm going to play God's advocate here, because I can only advocate for the Lord. Right. Now, you said it's about having that conversation.
Yeah.
What are we? Is this just sex? Is it a relationship? What is it? Well, I'm going to argue that even with the conversation had, it still becomes confusing and the lines get blurred, because I'm sure there'll be people out there watching this show right now tonight that many a times have got into a mutually agreeable sexual relationship.
Yes.
And both parties have said this is just sex. But just sex often turns into, for one party, feelings and
That's what I said.
emotions.
Feelings and emotions get involved.
Right.
And that's where the problems. So you have to be honest with yourself. And even if you both do agree, you've started this as a casual thing, we just want to have sex. As soon as you start feeling this means a bit more to me, I want a bit more, the conversation needs to be had. You can't wait until it goes further along down the line and you're hoping for more, and it doesn't happen, because that person is still on the page of we are just having sex. So as soon as you realize this is different for me now, it may mean that, no, for them, that it's the same thing, but you have to be honest with yourself and with that person, because if not, frictions occur. Because your feelings are involved, your emotions are involved, and you're not getting back what you want, So you need to be honest. You need to have that conversation.
Yeah.
You may find that the person is the same. You might find that they're not, but at least you're informed. And if you want to carry on that, you are informed that for that person, it's still the same.
Because we're opening up a whole other can of worms here. Because the question I want to ask you is there such a thing as just sex?
Yes.
Really?
Yes. Yes, of course there is.
Interesting. Interesting.
We spoke last week about Swingers Club. Yeah.
True.
These
true.
people are going there for sex.
Straight.
They're not going to start a relationship with somebody.
Interesting.
They're going there to enjoy sex with other people.
Mm.
There is such thing as just sex.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, even couples can have just sex.
True.
Not
true,
make
true,
love.
true,
It could
true.
just be, let's just go and have.
Tear each other's clothes off and lift up foot power shoulder, all them someday. Yeah.
Okay.
Then I rock. Yeah.
Okay. But
yeah.
so there is such
Yeah,
thing as that.
Yeah. True.
And
true.
this is what I'm saying. Nobody's saying that it's wrong
No,
at
we're
all.
not.
But we're just saying about being honest
And aware.
with yourself.
Yep.
Honest and aware, because we do know when our feelings are involved. We know when we're feeling emotional towards somebody.
Yeah.
We do know this.
Yeah.
And we can try and deny it. But again, self-awareness. And what is it you want? How do you get what you want? If you're silent about your wants and needs, if you ignore your wants and needs, going back to what I said before, then they will remain invisible. We cannot blame our partners for not giving what we need when we're not articulating that to them.
Mm.
We're not expressing it.
Yeah.
We can't blame someone for that. We have to own who we are.
Yeah.
In order to get what we want.
Yeah. You know what's quite interesting as well is that, you know, when you mentioned about, I asked you the question about if two people are in a sexual relationship and then one person gets feelings for the other person and wants a bit more. You know, you said that they should put that thought across to the other side and say, look, you know, I'm starting to really like you. You know, we've been spending a lot of time together. I want to take this to the next level. But often when those feelings are not reciprocated by the other side, and the other side has made that clear, because you talked about having that conversation, but what I'm challenging is the fact that it's not that simple. Just wait for it, sis. Just having that conversation ain't that simple, because what happens sometimes is the conversation is had. Both parties have laid their feelings on the table, made it very clear. But the person that has the feelings for the other person then makes up their mind consciously that, well, if I just go along with this, over time, the other person will start to feel the way I do.
It's an illusion, though, isn't it? It may happen, but it may not happen. What I'm saying is, if you've asked, or you've mentioned it, you've expressed yourself, and that person says, well, no, I don't feel the same way, you have a choice right there and then what you do next. You can desist and go and find yourself somebody who's going to fulfill what you want. Or, like you're saying, you can stay in that relationship, but you have to do it with the awareness it may never happen. You can have the hope that it might, but you have to be real and honest with yourself. It may never happen. And don't blame that person for that. Because it's your choice to stay.
Brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. I'm conscious that time, you wouldn't believe it, how time is flying away today. So I'm conscious of that time's flying away, and I think that we should do an Arcs Ace.
Okay.
And then after we've done an Arcs Ace, if we've got time, we might do some more of Rachel's questions, because we've just scratched the surface, and we were quite sure that once we started with Rachel's questions, we would it would get time. Should we just read the other questions out for the listeners so they got an inkling, or do you want to keep it?
No, because I think, you know, once you read it out, we're going to want to do more. So I think,
fair enough. Right. So what we're going to do is we're going to do an Arcs Ace. So shout out to the young lady. Like I said, guys, if you've got any Arcs Aces and you want to ask Agony Ace a question, you know, it's Arcs Ace and Lilene, you know, drop us an email and just title in the email Arcs Ace at info@realtalkradio.co.uk. Send us your relationship questions and dilemmas, and we will do our best to read them out on the show. We'll pick at least one or two every week to read out on the show. Likewise, guys, if you guys are in suffering emotionally, from any trauma, from a traumatic relationship, and you want to speak to a professional counselor, get in touch with us at info@realtalkradio.co.uk, and we'll get a counselor out to you or on the phone to you within 24 hours. And remember, guys, all these services we offer are absolutely free. Another point to mention also, we also offer a domestic violence service. www.realtalkradio.co.uk offers a domestic violence service. So guys, you don't have to suffer in silence. You don't have to suffer alone. We've got professional, qualified domestic violence counselors on standby to take your calls, and the service we offer is completely discreet. So, Ask Ace. A young lady emailed me during the week. Very, very distressing and disturbing email. And as I started to read it, I saw it was going straight away. I've had a conversation with this young lady. I said to her, "Do you mind if I read your email out?" And she said, "No problem, Ace. I'm happy for you to read it out." So I want to change a few details, to keep the anonymity, but I'm just going to give you a gist of the overall story. So this young lady emails me. She says, "Ace, I met this guy. I'm completely in love with him, love of my life. But he's got 2 kids from a previous relationship. I love this guy, and I accepted that he had 2 kids from a previous relationship, and we got into a relationship. Shortly after that, she got pregnant for this guy, and the guy didn't move in with her. He wanted to stay at his own place. He had a tenant, a female tenant, living at his house. So the scenario is he's got a baby mother from a previous relationship. He's now got this new girl pregnant she's in love with him, but he doesn't want to stay at her house during the pregnancy because apparently he works, it's closer, his house is closer to get to work and all of that kind of, where this is going. Yeah, I'm sure you guys already started to do the maths, yeah? So yeah, female tenant, and she kind of suspected something was going on. Long story cut short, because it's a long story. This gentleman was cheating on his pregnant girlfriend with the tenant. I don't even think she was a tenant. I think that was just an excuse from the start. Do you know what I mean? Very comfortable excuse. But yeah, Ace, if you ask Ace, I don't think she was a tenant. You know what I mean? But apparently, according to him, she was the tenant, and he was having it away with the tenant. And also was he having it away with the tenant, he was also having it away with his baby mum as well. And this all came out in the wash. The time this all came out in the wash, this young lady not only had had a child for this young man, but she was pregnant with another child. And through the stress of it all, unfortunately, earlier this year, had a miscarriage. This young lady messaged me because she's in love. But not only is she in love, she is, as you can imagine, terribly distressed and hurt and in a lot of pain. The end of her email reads, she feels loss, she's in pain, and she needs advice. So we're going to give out some advice now live on air. Lalene's going to give us our resident counsellor. I want to put out there again, the advice we're giving is not counselling advice, but just general advice. And before we go on to give the advice, I want to just also put out there the fact that we have contacted this young lady. We have given her professional advice offline, and she is now engaged in counselling. One is bereavement counselling for the loss of the recent loss of her child, and some other counselling to deal with some of the trauma that she's experienced over the last couple of years true to this relationship. But yeah, over to yourself, Laleen. In relation to that email, what would you advise?
Well, I'm glad to hear that she's actually having bereavement counselling because I've read the email. She actually lost that baby through and had to have stillbirth, which is a very cruel way of. It's horrible to lose a child anyway, but it's very traumatic to have to go through something like that. So the bereavement counselling is really going to help her. She's at a very vulnerable place at this moment in time. And her thoughts about being in love with this person who hasn't showed her any respect or care, really, by the way that he's treated her, would have to try and look at what is it that you love about this person? What does this person make you feel that you can identify as love? But really, you're so vulnerable at this moment, it doesn't feel that it would be a good time for you to be trying to pursue a relationship with somebody like him. I mean, the loss of a child and wanting to be connected to that person who also has lost that child is natural. But he has been constantly cheating on her with a tenant, with ex-partners, with friends. We have to look at that and understand that that person really is not showing you love and really is not showing you care. So what is it about yourself that would want to be with somebody that is treating you that way? So if I was to say, I would just say you need to take a step back, heal yourself first for your bereavement, and then heal yourself, because she's facing a lot of loss.
Definitely.
She's the loss of a child, the loss of a relationship, the loss of herself even, because
Definitely.
she actually says, I feel lost.
Definitely.
So there's a lot of work that needs to happen to bring her back to self. And what I believe is that once she has that help to bring her back to herself, she will quite possibly not feel so drawn to that person or feel
Definitely.
so in love with that person.
Definitely. Definitely. Definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely. I would agree with you 100%. It's all about finding yourself. And I think that the more comfortable you are with yourself and who you are,
Yes.
is the less liberties you will let other people take
Absolutely.
with you.
Absolutely. You know, you have to be in control of you.
Yeah.
You know, I like the phrase, you know, I am the CEO of my life.
Brilliant. 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 I always say, love yourself. And I always say, you know, when people talk about looking for their other half, I will never be your other half.
No.
Because I'm a whole man.
Absolutely.
I'm a whole man. You know, when you get ace, you're not gonna get half a man. You're gonna get a whole man. and a little bit extra too. You understand? So that's how we roll. So we're in a half a man business. So you need to be a whole person.
Yes.
And you can't be whole until you find yourself.
Absolutely.
And you know yourself.
Yes.
You know, so it is definitely about finding yourself and getting the professional help
Yes.
to start the healing
Absolutely.
process.
Absolutely, to find herself. Because if someone says, I am lost, yeah, that is the truth. You have lost yourself. You have lost who you are, what you want, all of those things. Because if we break it down, who wants to be with somebody who's hurting them? Who wants to be with someone who's disrespecting them? Yeah? If you have the basic care for yourself.
Yeah.
Going right back to the beginning. If you have the basic care for yourself, you don't want to be in a relationship like that because it's painful. And you reach out for help because you're not happy. So if we are thinking, you know, I'm not happy here, understand why you're not happy. What is making you unhappy? Is it this person? If it's this person that's making you unhappy, what are they doing that's making you unhappy? And when you look at all of those things, now tell me what it is you love about the person. Again, what is love?
Yeah. And there's nothing that you should look for in somebody else that you can't find in yourself. So whatever that thing is that you're looking for in that person to make that person make you feel that way, you should be able to generate that feeling all by yourself.
Mm.
Because if you can generate that all by yourself, when you meet somebody else, you just vibrate on an equally high vibration rather than you're vibrating low and you're looking for someone else to bring your vibration up. Does that make sense?
Yes. I mean, when you start a relationship, this is what happens quite commonly. You start a relationship, there's that magic, you're in love and that temporary insanity. And if that person is treating you well, you know, you're on a high,
Yeah.
you're extremely happy.
Yes.
When that changes, you're still living in how they treated you previously.
Brilliant. Brilliant. Brilliant.
But it's like a job interview. Some people act a certain way to get the job,
Brilliant.
but they don't do the necessary to keep the job. They then
Brilliant.
start slacking.
Brilliant.
So you have to understand that that way of being treated should not have been a temporary thing. It's what you deserve. You deserve that treatment constantly.
But when you say that in all relationships, I'm playing God's advocate again, whether it be the man, the woman, the man,
Yeah.
we're all guilty of getting complacent.
Absolutely. Absolutely. But if you're in a relationship with somebody, let's put you for example, you're in a relationship with somebody, you love them, you get on well, they've suddenly got complacent and you're not really feeling that. What do you do?
Well, I would say people usually verbalize that. But what happens is, and we went back to love languages, it goes back to the first 5 languages of love, that people communicate how they feel, but if you communicate your language differently, that's not always reciprocated. So this is where you get that breakdown in communication, as it's so called, because remember, that's it. You get that breakdown because people are communicating that, and then you get the. But I've told you 100 times. But we've had this conversation, you know, and then it feels like the nagging starting, and it's a case of you don't communicate the same when it comes to the language of affection.
If I said to you, when you do something, when you put the glass over there, it hurts me inside. It really makes me feel like, you know, you don't care about me, you don't love me. It really makes me feel insecure. It hurts me so badly. Can you not do that anymore? What would you do?
Babes, it's only a glass. Why are you making a mountain out of
Because
a
it
molehill?
means a lot to me.
Babes, there are people dying.
But that means a lot to me.
No, but I'm saying, babes, every day there's thousands of people dying of cancer, right? 4,000 people dying a day of type 2 diabetes. And you are letting me leaving my glass on the side bother you that much?
Yes, because it means something to me. I know there's people starving, but that actually hurts me. And it's your choice to actually just leave it there or just move it and then I'm not in pain anymore. So what would your choice be?
I'm saying you need to get over it, babes. Come on, man. You're making a mountain out of a molehill.
Well, this is the problem.
This is the problem that relationships have, because
Yes.
you have, it might be the dishes, you know, she wants him to do the dishes or she wants him to take the bin out. And I love you. I love you. I'm in love with you. I want to spend the rest of my life with you. Yeah. But just because I'm not taking the garbage out, it doesn't mean I don't love you. But you don't see it like that. You turn that into a massive thing. Like, I'm playing God's advocate here, but you see, this is what happens in relationships.
Yes, it is. But if you understand, if your partner says that this is hurting me, it's really hurting me, and it's a simple thing for you to move it to somewhere else, why do you need to create an argument about it? Why can you not just move it?
Because and once again, I'm playing God's advocate here. Perception. What's simple to one person can also appear complicated to another. So to you, it's like, oh, it's really just that simple. Why don't you just? But to the other person, it's like, well, why are you making such a big thing over that?
Yeah, but why would you say that? Why do you have to question if somebody says it causes them pain? We're being trivial about a glass.
No.
But it's about somebody expressing to you that they're actually in pain about something, and whether you want to acknowledge that and say, okay, if it's causing you that much pain, I don't have to do that. I can do something so you're not in pain. It is that choice.
Yeah, but the thing is, reason why I've stressed this point is
Yes.
because this is a common thing that happens in relationships
Yes,
a
it
lot.
is.
That it might be something so trivial, but there's that niggling, and it's a matter of perception. And I'm playing God's advocate from a matter of I can't comprehend why that must be so important to you.
Okay.
Right now in the real life, I understand what you're
Yeah.
saying, but I'm saying I can't comprehend why that is so important. It's just
Yes,
taking
but-
a big bag out. I'll take it out in the morning. You
Yes.
want it out at night, I'll take it out in the morning.
But listen to
when I'm
this.
going to work.
But listen to this. Your need to comprehend why it's so much an issue to me and not actually listening that it hurts me is the difference. Another example.
But I
a
can't see
man-
why you're making a big deal.
Okay,
Look, babes,
but listen,
I'll
a
take the
man-
bag
no,
out
no,
in the
no,
morning.
no,
I'll
hear
take
me
it
out,
out in
hear
the
me
morning.
out.
What's the
A
problem?
man was told by his wife, when you're on your way home, let me know. When you're on your way home, because I worry about you driving, I sit at home and I worry until you get in. So when you're on your way home, can you please just let me know? Yeah. It took her 3 times to say, please let me know. I'm in tears. I'm worried. Can you please let me know? His choice is to, oh, she's just being silly. I'm going to get home when I get home. Or to make that call because she's telling him she's in pain. That is the key element of this. Not why is she finding it so trivial. It is actually causing her to be upset. It's causing her pain. That is the key element of this. And if you care about that person, you're hearing you're in pain. I need to stop that pain. I love you. I care about you. I want to stop the pain.
Yeah, but I get what you're saying. In real life, I get what you're saying. But I'm saying us men, we're all guilty of not hearing.
Yes.
We listened, but we never heard you. I'm talking about. I've even got my own previous relationships here that women have said things to me, and I'm thinking, a foolishness that what up to? A foolishness that what? And then when they broke down and say, babes, I can't do this no more, you're like, really? That bothered you that much? This is us, man. We can be guilty of things like this.
Yes.
So what I want to understand is how do you communicate? How do you communicate better so that we actually hear what you're saying? We're not just listening, we're actually hearing what you're saying. And or is it how do you put it across in a way that we understand how much those little things that just taking the bag out at night means to you? Because I'm telling you, as a man, we don't.
Well, I think my point is it's not so much about the bag or the glass. It's about somebody expressing to you that your action has caused them a lot of pain.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you hearing, because it's about connecting and being in tune. If I say to you, you're hurting me,
Yeah.
you should be able to feel that. You should be if we are in a relationship and you care about me, you should be able to feel when I say to you, you're hurting me.
Yeah.
That should be important.
But let me break it down slightly deeper, right? And we were coming to the last 5 minutes of the show.
Really?
Yeah. I saw the time fly over. Because a friend of mine, she was talking, and that's why I used the example about the bin bag.
Yeah.
She was talking about a situation where she likes her bin emptied at night because she doesn't like the bin smelling up the house.
Right. Okay.
But her partner always wants to empty the bin in the mornings when he's going to work. Because he's like, why do I have to go out and take the bin out tonight? I could just go out and take it out in the morning when I'm going to work. So she gets so upset with him not taking it out at night, she ends up taking it out that night.
Okay.
So it's like, I have to always do it because he do you know what I mean? But I could see the dynamics from both perspectives. The dynamics from why she would want it out in the night, but why he just sees it more logical to take it out in the morning.
Okay.
Now, the point you said about you're hurting me. Men, we're not as emotional as women. Sometimes we can think more logical.
I won't have that.
I'm saying
No.
logically, it makes sense
No.
that if I'm going, why should I make 2 trips here downstairs out my front door when we come at 1. Logically, it makes sense that I'm leaving the house in the morning. I'm walking past the kitchen. I'm walking out the front door. I could do it in the morning. That's just logical.
Okay,
But emotionally, like you said,
let me stop
it's
you.
hurting
Let me
me.
stop you. Let me stop you. Okay, I will not have that men are more logical than women.
I didn't mean that for you.
No,
what I meant.
because that's not true.
No, what I mean is sometimes you will work off the premises of emotions, whereas we will work from a perspective of less emotional, more pragmatic. Am I digging a hole? Am I digging a hole? Listen, I got the shovel out now. Right. Thank God we only got 5 minutes left. Ding ding, say by the bell. It's got talk. Right.
The thing is, relationships need compromise.
Yes.
If it's things about taking the bins out, yes, you can make a big thing about this bin. But if it means that much to her, as she's doing, she can go and take the bin out. Problem solved. I'm talking about more deeper when things are actually, it's actually something that's so important. It is hurting that person. That, the bin thing. I understand what you're saying. I think that men don't often express emotions as much as women. I don't necessarily, because I know plenty of logical women.
It wasn't one or the other. I didn't explain that very well. I'm not even going to try again because I'm only going to dig a bigger hole for myself. I didn't explain that well. So the producer said to me, one thing the producer said, he said, Ace, he said, the best thing you could do if you make a mistake is own your mistake. So I'm owning that one right now, yeah, right? Before they want to shoot the messenger, I didn't explain that very well, but I'm sure you got what I meant. Go on, sis, go on.
Yeah, I just think, yes, we are. You can say that a lot of women are very much in touch with their emotions, and some people say that women lead with their emotions.
There you go. Yeah, there you go. Thank you very much.
But we're both very, very capable of the same thing.
100%.
And can be guilty of the same.
100%. I agree with you there. Yeah.
So I just think it goes both ways as well. There are plenty of men who say to women, when you're doing something like that, it really upsets me. And the same way, they need to listen to what is being said. The most important thing is that your partner is expressing discomfort. They're expressing their pain, their hurt. And we, if we care about that person, have to listen. Yeah, we have to listen. If not, we're not being true to them and not being true to ourselves.
Absolutely amazing.
Yeah, we're not showing any care at all.
Absolutely. Amazing. So we are once again running out of time. Time flies so quickly.
Yeah.
Didn't even have a chance to get through any of the comments tonight.
Oh, wow.
Guys, apologize. I didn't have a chance to get through any of your comments tonight. But if you guys have got an Ask Ace, a relationship dilemma, drop me an email, info@realtalkradio.co.uk. Sis, do you want to do a little summary for the listeners? Look into that camera there.
Sorry for the listeners. So we didn't get very far with all of our questions, but I think what we looked at today was that you need to be real with yourself. You need to understand, again, who you are.
Yeah.
And not allow yourself to be uncared for. So you need to express self-love. You need to be honest with what your thoughts and feelings are to the other. If you want to ignore those thoughts and feelings, then we cannot expect your partner to know what your wants and needs are. And looking at relationships, are we content to just have sexual relationships without connection? And if we are, great, own it and enjoy it. But don't pretend that you're happy to just be in a relationship sexually when you actually want more. Have the conversations, even though it may feel as though it's uncomfortable to have that conversation. But it would feel a lot more uncomfortable to remain in a relationship where you're not being open and honest about your feelings, your wants, and your needs. So I would encourage you to be open and honest. Have the conversation. Once that's happened, I'm sure you'll find you have a much better relationship or know where you're headed in your relationships.
Absolutely, absolutely amazing. So, guys, so next week we are gonna be finishing off Rachel's comments, aren't we?
Hopefully we'll get through
we're
a
gonna
couple
finish
more.
Rachel's comments, and then next week's show is gonna be entitled "How Do You Express Your Sexual Needs Without Fear of Reprisals?" And just picking up just quickly on one or two of the comments on the coming in. Someone put in there, love languages gone out the window. Well, I don't know how that person could actually come to that conclusion when the whole concept of the show was only starting with love language. Love languages is just opening the dialogue to then go further. So like I said, the first couple of episodes, we covered the first 6 languages of love. That's not complete. It's got talk. Yeah. Me are the emperor. Yeah. And that's why I added the 7th language of love. And now we've 7 is the number of completion. And now we're going to a whole nother dimension, because the whole concept of this relationship show is to talk about all the dynamics of relationships between men and women. So we can't spend 52 weeks talking about 5 languages of love. Okay, so we covered that and we moved on, and there's so many more topics that we're going to cover. So shout out to the misinformed comment that came in about love languages going out the window. It can't have gone out the window, because I feel sure and I feel concept. Yeah, and Ace got talk. Yeah, big ships sailing on the ocean. We don't need no commotion. So yeah, soak that up. Ace got talk. So yeah, join us back next week for Ace got talk and my new co-host, aka also a resident counselor, the Royal Empress and Goddess, Laline. Join us back next week on MediaNet Live TV, same time, 8 p.m, where we're going to open the show. The first point of topic of conversation is going to be, how do you express your sexual needs without fear of reprisal? And guys, keep your comments coming in on the emails to OxAce, that's info@realtalkradio.co.uk. Also, shout out to our sponsors. Shout out to Real Talk Radio, and all the great work you guys are doing now. And shout out to sponsors, www.realtalkradio, keeping it 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, putting out that real talk. And you can also catch up on all previous episodes of the Love Zone if you've missed that on realtalkradio.co.uk under the Love Zone. Until next week, stay blessed and salute.